Good morning, everybody. Kris here with Inspired Energy. Another lovely Wednesday morning. Good morning, Hartwell.
Good morning, Kris. Good morning, everyone.
And so this morning, the subject that you've chosen to speak on is definitions in human design. Now, when you hear the word definition, because I hear you talk about this a lot, you say where you're defined, where you're undefined. Is that the same thing? Or are you talking about that part of the chart? Or what do you mean by definition?
Yeah, it is a little confusing because we do speak about, gates and centers being defined, and that's what's reliable in your chart. But today our topic is more about the circuitry that is defined or how it's defined.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our topic today. So what I mean by that is there are 5 ways to be defined, I guess you could say. Think about the circuits in your chart.
Or you mean
Okay.
wired? 5 ways to be wired?
Yeah, that's kind of a good way to say it. Maybe HD should, adopt that. But you can your diagram, your body graph shows how the energy flows in your chart. You see, so
how many ways are there to be defined then? Like, how many ways are there to be wired?
Well, I would say 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can be. Your definition can be in one continent, like think of it a massive continent, so everything defined in an ongoing stream, or it can be split into 2 islands,
right?
Or it could potentially be, and that simple split or the single split can be a wide split, or it can be quite narrow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then you can have a triple 3 islands, or you could even potentially be quadruple split.
So what's the difference between each of the different definitions? So what are the characteristics, for example, of a person who has a single definition chart?
Well, people who have a single definition are, it means that all the energy in their chart is flowing consistently, constantly, and reliably. And so nothing is left out. So there's a sense of unity, there's a sense of self-sufficiency. They need other people less. And they can be they're often very focused in their design. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So about 40-something% of people are single definition.
Okay. So tell us about a split definition. So I'm taking it that once you go from a single definition to a split, all of a sudden your energies are like separated somehow.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. It's kind of like there are different parts of you. Oh, this part of me is really emotional, and this part of me is really logical. I mean, you could look at an individual chart and say, okay, this is what's going on here, this is what's going on here, and there is a sense of separation.
Right.
So it's a sense that they don't always work together, or one is working at a time. There's a sense of separate parts of yourself.
Well, that makes sense.
So as a result, people who are split definition people tend to be more, they need other people more.
Right. It makes me think of fire. Like to help them have access to some parts of themselves? Is that what you mean?
Well, they don't, they're just, they're drawn into, so for a simple split definition person, there can be, the focus becomes, if you look at the chart that we have displayed,
right?
Queen Elizabeth,
right?
She's a simple split.
Okay.
So, in other words, there are the 3 centers at the top that are one circuit. So that's one island.
Right.
And then there's another island where the root and the solar plexus are defined together. So there's two different circuits there, two different islands.
So when you
And
say circuit, can I just stop you for a second? So when you say
Sure.
circuit, you mean that there is a channel connecting the centers, and then where there's no channel connecting, then that's where that island, as you call it, would stop, and then a new one would start wherever there's another channel
or
connect-
grouping.
Okay,
Because if you look at Queen Elizabeth's chart, there's two channels there, right?
right.
There's one from the head to the ajna and one from the ajna to the throat. So that's an unbroken circuit. The energy flows between the throat and the head uninterrupted.
Mm-hmm.
So there can be more than one channel in an island.
Right.
It's just that whole island is connected.
Right. That's what I was saying. It's like bridged, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then when it breaks off and starts another one somewhere, then that means it's split.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So she's called a simple split because if you look at her chart, there's only one gate there that she would need in order for it to be one continent.
Okay.
So it would be the gate at the throat that links up with the gate 36 coming out of the solar plexus. So gate 35. So for a simple split person with only one bridging gate, they become very interested in the qualities of that gate. So they're split definition people, which make up about another 40%, are people-oriented people. Okay. And their focus is more on those bridging gates. And depending on the design, there can be more than one way to bridge the gap.
Mm-hmm.
So those bridging gaps become you get drawn to the people who have your bridging gate if you have a simple split.
So you would have those people probably around you, like the law of attraction, the magnetism would happen, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Those would be some of your favorite people, and yes, you would be drawn into each other's lives.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite cool.
So
now,
what happens?
It's possible.
Go ahead.
So that leads us to, there's another way to have a simple split, but it can end up being a wide one.
Okay.
So if you've got a wide split, which means that, say you have something really at the top of your chart, and you have something at the bottom, there can be the gap might be an entire channel or more in order to bridge it. Mm-hmm. So a simple split is only one gate needed to bridge it. But if you need one channel or more to bridge it, then it's wide split.
See, you picked up psychically my question, because that's what I was going to ask you. What's the difference between that and a wide split? So
yeah,
you're already ahead of me on that one. So what other kinds of splits are there? So because I've heard you talk about triple splits and other different things. So that's a couple, and you said there were 5. So can you tell us about another one?
Well, I'm just for this conversation, I'm talking about 2 of them being the single split. One is the narrow split and one is the wide split. So that's 2 in and of itself.
Right.
So we've looked at single definition and split definition, which are broken into 2 different kinds. Mm-hmm. And then there is the triple split and the quadruple split. Okay. So, riffing on what we've already done, obviously a triple split would be 3 different islands. Mm-hmm. Now, in a triple split, these are really people-oriented people. These are very people-oriented people. They like groups. They need to move through different auras. And the open centers become the priority when talking about the not self. So they no longer, even if one person were to bridge all 3 of their gaps, they still need to be around lots of people.
Okay.
You
So that's
know,
part of
so
their design. Yeah.
yeah, they're very people oriented, and you know, they different groups of people or friends will experience them differently according to what gets bridged.
Right.
Um, and you know, it's pretty intriguing that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if we talk about the single splits for a minute, the wide split people will tend to be they will tend to project their problems in their life onto other people.
Oh.
But if it's an easy bridge to cover, then
Mm-hmm.
they'll tend to be people who are self-blamers, you know, taking the blame for what's not going on in their life.
And you said that's a single split?
The two kinds of single splits, yeah.
So they tend to blame other people? Or
Wide
their own?
splits do.
Oh, wide splits do. Okay.
Yeah, they kind of say, "Oh, you know, my life is shit because of something external."
Uh,
Whereas the people with the easy bridge will tend to blame themselves.
uh,
These are just generalizations that often these are about when we're talking about these definitions in circuitry, we're talking about kind of energy dynamics.
mm-hmm.
Um, so the last one, we're kind of skipping all over the place here today,
Yeah,
but
that's okay. We're talking about all of them, so it's fine.
yeah, the quadruple split are very rare. And
Right.
that would mean that they had four separate sides to themselves.
It's
Okay.
almost like a
Um,
schizophrenic.
yeah, yeah. And um, these are people that they're not really so people oriented anymore. The single split people and the triple split are quite people oriented, and they become they're often the experts at working with people and being with people, and they know how to be in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, you know, the single definition people can be in relationships successfully, but they don't need other people in the same way. They're a little bit more energetically self sufficient.
Right.
The quadruple split people are really not even interested in gates anymore. You know, they're not drawn to people who have their bridging gates specifically. It's more like they need a lot of different people in their life consistently, but then they might be one-on-one with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, people who are attracted to polyamory,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, who are able to love more than one person,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, the quadruple split does tend towards that sort of way of being. It's like, oh, I have my best friend, and this person I get this from this person, and this other person I get this from that person, and that
Right.
person I get from that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing.
So
So
compartmentalizing. Yeah.
yeah, you could say, but it's just that all of their needs cannot be met by one person.
Mm-hmm. But isn't that kind of so that now I'm going to play devil's advocate because isn't that true of everybody? Like, not one person can fulfill every one of our needs or desires because obviously, the way the chart is, there's no one person that fills in all of those dots. They can fill in some of them, some of the channels, some of the gates, but not everything.
Well, it's not about filling in anything. It's more about how your energy dynamics work and kind of I think what's authentic to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think satisfying relationships are possible for any of these types.
Well, yeah,
It
anybody.
yeah, it's just that there is more of a. I mean, for instance, you know, a single definition person could maybe exist on a desert island better, you
Oh,
know,
right.
on their own.
Yeah.
You know, there really is the sense of um, I'm not talking. Yeah, it is tricky to say, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
in what level are we using the word need here?
Yeah,
And I know you
exactly.
don't always like to talk about semantics or make
Yeah.
distinctions like that, but it's more. Um, this is not necessarily an emotional need. It's more of
Mhm.
a operational need.
Right.
Does that make any sense? What I just
Oh,
said
yeah.
there?
Yeah, in order
Yeah.
to help you operate, right? And get things done. So like certain people, for example, are community have the community channel, so they're much better in community, and they, people who don't have it are looking for that because to get things done, right? If they're missing that channel, then they're seeking somebody that has it so they can accomplish what they need to get done. Like I get that. So yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a something there where you, I mean, for me, it's like, oh my God, I want to look at lots of charts and see how they
Mhm.
function,
Mhm.
but it's more like you could say a vehicle, your car needs gas in order to
Mhm.
run and it needs oil.
Right.
So it's kind of like, well, this is split definition and triple split definition, it's like we need people.
Right. Mhm.
So it's not need when we're talking about, oh, I emotionally long for somebody.
Yeah.
It's more of a functionality thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
thanks for exploring a different subject. And with this whole human design, there's so many facets to it. Like, I mean, we can do shows every week and talk about something different and go deeper. So, next week, what do you have on the plate for us?
well, next week we're going to dip into, and I
Mm-hmm.
say dip into very consciously, we're going to dip into some of the deeper levels of human design.
Mm-hmm.
What some of you may know, maybe I've said this before on this show, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the process of doing ongoing human design trainings, deepening my knowledge, and moving towards, certifications at various levels.
Yeah. Well,
But
and
then
you've already,
I did. Hmm?
I said, you're already been doing it for 25 years. So it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. Yeah.
Well, you get glimpses of kind of the next level that I don't have
Mhm.
mastery of.
Yeah.
So it makes me a little bit more, it makes me a little bit shyer about talking about it because it's like, oh, but
Yeah.
you're wanting me to do it. So next week we're going to kind of dip into some of the intriguing, deeper aspects that I have not a master of yet, and yet I can give some really fun hints.
Yeah, but I think that you don't give yourself enough credit because what you do give people is valuable information from those insights because I've had some of them. So I think that's incredible. So with that, we'll see you next Wednesday, 9 a.m. Hartwell and I signing off and have a wonderful Wednesday. Bye guys. God
Bye for
bless.
now.